Hello and welcome to the Loftside Bantr podcast. My name is Andrew Diamantopoulos, and I'm going to be the main host of this brand new podcast that we're releasing today. It's going to cover a wide range of subjects throughout the coming weeks, months, hopefully years. First and foremost, we're going to talk about sports and gaming and comedy and movies, television, current events, opinions. We're going to have guests on. We're going to do some interviews. The whole idea is to cover as much as we possibly can and branch out to where we can to talk to as many different people as possible. This first episode, we're going to be covering where we come from, why we're making a podcast, what else we're associated with, and where you can find us throughout the rest of the week and everything else like that. As I mentioned, my name is Andrew Diamantopoulos. And I know none of you have heard of me, which is fine. Hopefully someday that might actually change. So, why starting a podcast? Why is it called Loftside Bantr? Why all these different things? First and foremost, I went to school for radio-video broadcasting and promptly spent the rest of my career so far up until this point in food and beverage and hospitality and sales. So, as you can see, none of those things have anything to do with recording or radio-video broadcasting or anything else like that. I went to Hesser College, which doesn't exist anymore. That should tell you how great of the education was. But it was always something that I enjoyed. It was definitely something that I wanted to keep doing. Now, when you're young and you need money and you need to be able to focus on different things, it's tough to just try and break into everything that you want to do. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I wanted to work in sports media, sports talk radio. And as you can tell by the previous 30 seconds of my story, none of that worked out. So I went into things that I was good at. I was very good at food and beverage. I was very good at hospitality. I still am. It's just, I think it's time to make a move. I think it's time to do something different. One huge factor in trying to make a move like this has been my very supportive fiance, who has basically told me to start doing some things that I enjoy. And realistically, as most people probably have said in their life, you'll never work a day in your life if you enjoy what you do. And as much as there's been jobs that I've been really fun to be a part of and everything else like that, I can always say that I feel like I'm working. I've made a lot of lifelong friends. One of them you'll meet quite a bit in our streaming process and everything else like that. But there is just something about, if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's the step I'm starting to take right now. That's all the wonderful positive news that's coming out of creating Loftside Bantr. We've kind of introduced myself, a very brief overview of what we would like to do. We'll go in a little bit more detail later. One of the other things that we'll talk about is kind of what our sound is going to be. Early on, it's going to be a homemade, up in a loft type podcast. And with that said, there is a dog in this household and 3 cats. And with that being said, there are going to be noises from them that I can't control. There are going to be, I'm sure, fiance sounds when I don't do the things I'm supposed to do throughout the day. There's going to be sounds and all that stuff. And I'm going to clean it up as best I can, as all of this is going to be produced by myself. So I'm going to be putting together, a lot of different pods and trying to get them out at different days and everything else like that. The hope is to eventually have a crew to do this. That's going to take time. It's all going to take time. And so for the people that listen early on, it's going to sound choppy. It's going to sound like it's being thrown together. And that's because it probably is. We will eventually figure out what the best course of action is to do all of this different stuff. We'll figure out how we can make it sound better. I like the idea of the evolution. I think that's very cool. I think the evolution of this show, going from what it is right now, which is just me sitting at a small desk with a microphone in front of my face, explaining to you what I'm doing at this exact second, to then having it be put together and sounding professional and being able to pull out different stuff. My guests are going to have to talk to me through some sort of means that I know what to do, because at 38 years old, I have had some technology literally whiz past me, and I don't know how to do it. That's where a lot of these friends are going to come in and help. It's really kind of a cool process to hear me do this, and then hopefully a year from now, I'm looking back and going, why did I do it that way? But that's generally what it's going to be early on. So again, I appreciate patience. I appreciate everything else like that. Um, but from here, we'll go into kind of what some of the goals are that we have, a little bit more in depth on that. And then we'll start talking about some associations we have, some other social media um, stuff like that. The hope is that we get this done in about a 20 to 30 minute conversation, and you get a good idea of what we are, and then that way I don't bore you to death in that time frame, and then we go into an actual episode. So first and foremost, the idea of this pod is to have a forum for a lot of the subjects we're going to cover. We're going to cover sports. We're going to take a look at kind of what's going on in the world and everything else like that in the world of sports, and then we're going to have some guests to talk about different things. We want to dive into the history of that, of sports, what it looked like then, what it looks like now, and kind of figure out what the layout will be. We'll make predictions. We'll do all the different stuff. One of my many vices is sports gambling. So I mean that'll be something that we do touch on, topics within sports, and we'll make it down so it's a microcosm of everything else. Next will be kind of gaming. So one of the things this pod is going to be associated with is a company called Ramtam Gaming, Ramtam Gaming, Ramtam. I am also part owner in that company, which we do live stream games and stuff like that. So this will go hand in hand with that. I have a very good friend, Industrial Gamers, who is going to help us do that and play with us in certain games and everything else. But we're trying to incorporate that within all of this now, using Twitch to get our brand out there and everything else like that. There's going to be an overall umbrella of a few different things. Ramtam and Loftside Bantr are going to go kind of hand in hand, whereas we do some advertising on one as far as the other. But we're going to look into the world of gaming, which is still huge. And again, I believe I was born a little too early. I'm just super competitive when it comes to everything. I want to beat everybody. I want to be the best at different things. So, still being a gamer and still being able to take a look at kind of the fun you can have with that, and then incorporate that into this kind of world. A lot of places are doing that, and this isn't something that's new or like cutting edge or anything like that. So, we'll really see what works out. We've already done probably about a week and a half of streaming, and we've had a good response to that already. We're getting to kind of where the first goals are, which is great. So we're going to do that. I'm also going to incorporate movie and TV reviews. We'll have some guests that can do something like that. We really want to have something that we can have our listeners kind of see what we're into and what we like, what we don't like. We're going to look at, we may do something where it's a fiance review, where it's something I really like that I'm not sure that she's going to like, and we'll talk about it in a kind of an open forum type deal. And then we'll get some other people, and we would love to hear from everybody. We'd love to hear what everybody thinks of these things, because I have one put aside already that I just got really back into, and it was really fun to rewatch, and I've actually rewatched it a couple of times. Whereas I went to school for radio video broadcasting, being able to look at the editing and where sounds are and the way they do different things and what subplots could mean and everything else like that, that's pretty cool to me. I've always liked the deeper meaning of songs and movies and and TV shows and stuff like that, and the way that they do things. So that's something that we're definitely going to explore with that. And then we're going to talk about the world of comedy, mainly stand-up comedy. Um, I've been lucky enough to live outside the Boston area where a lot of great comedians come and go and really kind of put themselves out there, and you're told that you have to make it in Boston to be able to become a big time comic, and so you get a lot of up and comers through here. So my hope is that they'll come on as well, and we'll talk about the landscape of kind of what's happening with that, and what specials are coming out, and review some of them and talk about the comedians that are really putting out new content and stuff like that. I'd love to get some on and to be able to advertise themselves. I think it's one of the last free speech areas in this country. And again, I'm trying to keep political out of it, but that's is about as far as I can say for that. I like that at least comedy crowds understand that you're there to see a comedy show. And yes, still some people get upset when they watch things or watch it out of context and stuff like that. So, we're going to look at all that. And then we'll talk about some current events. We'll talk about things that are happening in the world, and we'll make references and stuff like that. The hope is that we'll eventually play games. We'll eventually structure this where we have, when we're releasing episodes, that they mean something. I think Twitch Tuesdays and Wednesdays are going to be a thing. My friends and I play on Wednesdays, so that may be something that we do on here, on Twitch, I mean. And then, Tuesday Twitch, Thursday Twitch, something like that. It's got to go around my 9 to 5 right now, because that is what, I have to do to still make a living while I build this up. So it's going to be a lot of work. With a lot of work will come a lot of fun. And a lot of the fun will come with making this as big as it can be. I'm going to put in the work to make sure that it can get to that. I obviously can't do that alone. I need support and listeners, and I need people that want to interact with the show. And that's where all the fun's going to come into. I think the best podcasts out there have people interact with them, being able to look at their comments, good, bad, or indifferent, being able to respond to them, being able to incorporate ideas, as well as all the other things I've mentioned. I'm a huge history buff, and one of the coolest things I've ever heard is George Washington never really just took his ideas. He would take a poll of the room, and he would collect the best ideas, and then he would do what he thought was the best. So that's where the audience comes in, is that as much as I'd like to think I know a lot about something, there's always going to be someone out there that knows more and that can incorporate that more into what I'm doing. So please, by all means, send us messages, questions, ideas, and we'll read them out on air, and we'll make sure that you get some credit for that and everything else like that. Loftside Bantr is going to be a lot of different things, especially early on. And then from there, we're going to tighten it up, and we're going to make sure that we do what we think we're best at. So early on, there might be a few things kind of that we throw out there, see what happens. And if it's not something that we're going to continue, we'll make sure we mention that. But this is an exciting time for me, because even just sitting here in front of this microphone, I'm having a lot of fun. I've done a lot of setting up so that there's access to this and everything else. So I'm very excited to get that out there. This has been a great kind of introduction, episode 0, if you will. I'm hoping the next episode is going to be something where we do a lot of talking about, again, the subjects that we're going to bring up. I already have the first idea for a movie review. I already have an idea for kind of the first things that we talk about in sports. And then I'm hoping to do an episode in the near future with a guest, probably talking a little basketball. So keep in tune for that. I'm hoping to have about 3 episodes out by the end of next week. So we'll see what happens. And again, I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen and taking the time to learn about what this new adventure is going to be. So with that, I believe I'm within the 15 to 20 minute range that I didn't bore you all too much with our episode 0 explanation of who we are. I'm going to give you the standard please like and subscribe and share with friends and family. I would love the support. I would love to see that hopefully the hard work that goes into this will eventually catch on and we will see a lot of positive steps going forward. I just really appreciate you taking the time. And again, please feel free to reach out. Loftside Bantr, if you go take a look around, hopefully we'll have something on Twitter or X coming up. And then we're going to be able to release a email address so that way you guys can start sending that. So we're going to be on rss.com. We're going to hopefully be on Apple Podcasts. And so the contact information should be on there. So again, I really appreciate the time to listen through. And, I want you to have a good rest of your day, good rest of your week. And we'll talk to you more. All right. Have a good one.